We're here with Jake Thurm, top instructor,
Thank you.
Golf Digest, best young teacher in America, working with V1 Pressure Mat. Tell me a little bit about it. Let's walk through the process.
So as soon as I can get somebody on a pressure mat, I'm going to find out a lot more about them than they're going to tell me about themselves. The only thing I would want to know, especially if I was giving a lesson with V1 and the V1 Pressure Mat powered by Body Track, is tell me, what's your miss? What's the shot that really gets your goat? How can I help you with that? Because if you don't improve the ball flight, you don't improve the player. So that would be the goal that I'm looking for you. So when you're on the golf course, is there a particular miss that tends to show up in your game that I can help you out with?
Well, of course I go right.
You go right.
Of course I go right.
Right. And now, is it starting right, staying right, curving right?
Curves right.
Okay.
I mean, my miss is setting up left, missing right. So I'm trying to navigate it,
Right.
but it just, when I do miss, it goes.
Okay, good. So hopefully we get to make a forward address to the left side of the golf course today, and you can collect your mail over there. So why don't you go ahead and set up for me? Just go ahead and hit a shot, and by all means, this works out really well if you just hit it great, and I don't have to tell you anything.
That would
okay?
be ideal.
But if you hit that shot that you just described to me, I want you to go, that's exactly why I'm here. And I'm going to make a note of that as we collect this data.
Okay, you got it.
There it is again. It did curve to the right, and we could see how that could become a problem, even though that was a pretty good shot. So if we go over here and take a look at the data, see up here, this is our COP, this is our V chart, and that's our vertical force. I find in a golf lesson for golf instructors and the golfer themselves, especially when they're new to pressure mapping, the most teachable chart on here is the COP chart. So we're going to start right off address. So what I want to tell you first off is what I find that all clients of mine do, especially the ones that play on the PGA Tour, because if they all do it, then we have to do it. So right off the bat, you notice that you have more pressure on your lead side than the trail side, which begs the question, is that okay? The answer is yeah, it is okay, because that's what we see the best players doing regardless of the golf club, is that they have just a touch bit of pressure on the lead side than the trail side.
Okay.
Anywhere from 50 to 60%. We saw 65% right there. Now, the other thing is that we see a tremendous amount of lateral pressure load. We've got 96% on the trail side and in the heel. We'll keep that going. So at the top of the swing, so let's I'm going to tell you something else that all good players do that I've measured, is that their maximum amount of vertical pressure on the trail side is achieved before the completion of their own backswing. So again, I think I saw 96. Yeah, there's 96. But then we're going to go all the way to the top and stop. And what you're going to see is right about there is the top of your backswing. And you can see that it went from 96 to 88%. Now, that's a lot of lateral pressure for an iron. Would you say you're a better driver of the golf ball? I know you got a new club, right? Would you say you're a better driver of the golf ball or a better iron player?
I'd probably say driver of the golf ball.
I would agree with that. A lot of guys with lateral pressure have a tendency of telling me that they feel pretty confident about the driver, but the ability to create solid contact when the ball is on the ground is another thing I could help them with. So if I can help you with the shot that curves to the right, and if I can help you consistently make ball first contact, again, little ball before big ball being earth, right? If we can help you do that. So we'll have it go forward. So here's the good news. The good news is at about lead arm parallel on the downswing, we're seeing the maximum around, and again, I want to tell you what the good things about your swing are, is because I don't want you to change them ever, right? The maximum amount of vertical pressure on the lead side is at a position that we would call lead arm parallel on the downswing. So in other words, the center of pressure is moving forward at that point, and you are on your lead side sooner rather than later. Now, I know you told me you got an extra stiff shaft in your driver, so you have some speed.
Right.
So this, to me, is not that surprising. Good news is you're in your heel through impact 92%. So if you're going to be lateral back, you should be lateral forward and then on through. Okay? So A couple things that we can do. Obviously, you curve the ball away from the path of the club in which it swung. So in other words, your club path has a tendency of swinging across the ball, which is why your ball ends up to the right. There's some drills that we can do on the body track that would actually help the pressure trace go more outward, which would help you get the club path more outward.
Okay.
Okay? So if you could go ahead and hop back out here and we can go on the live mode here. Okay? So go ahead and set up for me. There we go. We're not even going to hit this, all right? Oh, you could have had the ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we're going to go up to the top of the swing, just like you do. Okay, so first off that we notice on the body track is the overly lateral movement of the pelvis. What I'm here to tell you is that's being controlled by the pressure in the ground. So go back down to address. And I'm sorry, I always come in for the real thing, so I'm
Here we
going to
go.
put my hands on you.
Let's go.
All right, we're going to turn our hips a little bit what feels more circular.
Okay.
And what you'll notice is the pressure is still moving to the trail side when we, but if I keep you less lateral, or even if you're lateral early and then recenter you at the top, you can see that we only have a fair bit. So go back down, because it recentered. So we're going to do this live. So we're just going to have you feel like your right hip moves behind you and your left hip moves towards me. So go ahead and do that. Good, that would be better. And then the pressure is going to move significantly less to the trail side because we have a more centered action. Right. Lateral pressure in itself can be a very powerful thing. In fact, I feel like the defender at times of what I'm seeing on the internet of lateral pressure and lateral motion. I can point out a whole bunch of Hall of Famers that had lateral motion of the pelvis in the backswing. With that said, there can reach a point of diminishing returns, and that's what we saw. We were seeing 90% into the heel, but 90, and I even think I saw 96, 98% going back if we would have them go all the way to the top of the swing. Again, as powerful as that sounds, it reaches a point of diminishing returns, and you have to identify what the problem is for the golfer. What he told me was that he struggled with the ball on the ground with iron shots in particular. He felt pretty good about your driver. Typically someone that loads lateral, a lot of lateral pressure, does like the ball teed up rather high, but does struggle a little bit more with scoring clubs and solid contact. So after he transitions forward, the good news is he is lateral enough forward, but he had so much lateral pressure, so you can see how he gets in the lead side, 95% and into the heel, because he had so much lateral pressure and because he struggled making consistent solid contact, and because his ball flight tended to curve the ball to the right. The ball flight was the giveaway that the path was across the ball. I felt very confident in making him, one, feel more centered with his turn, but two, getting the way to get him more centered with his turn, in other words, to own it and not rent it, would be, once again, getting the pressure into the heel as his pelvis works deep and behind him. From that, he was able to pressure the ground forward sooner rather than later, which he already did when I met him. That was my favorite part of his swing. But now he's set up more to deliver the club from inside out. And the interesting thing, we gave him 2 drills and we did it on the body track. If we go to the next drill, where, I'm sorry, my best side's in the way, but we'll just look at right here. I had him put his feet and knees together. He loaded less lateral, but he moves more rotationally. This is not a new drill. It's certainly been around for as long as golf has been played. But the interesting thing is I asked him, have you ever done this drill? And the answer was no. And I already knew that before I asked it. We graduated from that to the lead side trail toe drill. Again, more of a single axis drill, which put more rotational movement in his swing. And then finally, we ended up back on both feet at a normal setup, and he felt like he wasn't moving off of it as much. What happened was his right hip was moving deeper this way, which would allow him to deliver the club less from the outside and more from the inside. It's pretty exciting when he took a very simple feel in his interaction with the ground, and he was able to translate that to a ball flight. His solid contact improved immeasurably, but I think he was very excited to see the ball actually turn right to left in the air. And I think if he's going to own that move all through the bag and help out his driver, because he said he likes his driver, but he does miss his driver to the right as well. So he likes it teed up, but pretty much every club in the bag curves too much to the right. This will help it curve more to the left and get him a more powerful draw. He's got plenty of speed. We just need better contact.